action requested. What is the action going to be?
Well, the action request is just discussion, so we're gonna discuss the spreadsheet.
So there's no adoption or?
No, there's no adoption or recommendation.
This is draft, and we would like to finalize all the strategies. We did that with all the other committees, so we had the economic in place, we're done with that. We are done with all the mobility, transportation, transit, and non-motorized, and then the last one is environment. So once we have all the strategies completed, we will take it to the TPC committee to make a recommendation, to be finalized. I don't think we can adopt anything now. It's a part of the 2050 plan, so it's all recommendation just to be finalized.
And one other disclaimer before we start. So remembering that the 2050 plan isn't just NERC's plan, transportation plan. It's a regional, we include all y'all as we go along because it's a regional plan. And so although we're not going to talk today about who's doing what with all these strategies, it's going to be the next step is to figure out, okay, if we want this to happen, who's the right.
Yeah, I'm going to explain that in the presentation.
We're not actually doing that today, but you have to think about it.
Okay. So, again, good morning and Happy New Year, everybody. So, I just came back from overseas, so my voice is not as good. I think it's changing weather. So, but as Kathy explained, what we're doing now, we're back again to all the 2050 plan, elements and going one by one. So we finalize the goals, and that's what we are going to do. So when we had the goals, which is in front of you, at the top of this one, you have all the main vision for connected, renewed, united, and vibrant. And then out of that, we had 16 critical pathways. And you have the second one, which is highlighted in bold, and that's all the goals that we are working with. And we developed a number of strategies under these goals. So when we developed the goals, we made sure it's measurable, achievable, and more realistic to be implemented. And the reason we're doing that, because we have to do a performance measures. As you see, it's coming out of the goals. And we are required to do a performance measures, and I'm going to explain that later in the next slides. We also looked at the influences and future, and we thought, okay, we already have certain assets here within our region, and we have certain trends happening within the last 10 years, which is different than the 2040 plan. We never expected, but technology is moving fast, and we have to be up to date with the technologies and the influences that are going to affect the growth of the region or the changing within the region. So that's the two things that we will consider also with the strategies. So we are in phase one of the strategies, but by the end of the strategies, we are going to have a short-term strategies and long-term. The short term, it's something happening now, and it's a quick fix, and we need to do it, and it's a crisis or problems. So that's we give a priority for that as a short term. And of course, it has to be important and urgent. Long term, it will be more like a strategic goals, because it's the next 15 to 20 years. And with this one, we're gonna decide which one is easy to implement and which one is difficult. The difficult one could be very important, so we will give it more priority than the easy one. So that's how we're gonna develop it by the end of the strategies. So the performance measures, as I mentioned, this process, we collect data, we analyze the data, and we track the information and changes. If, for example, the land use changes, environmental, fragmentation, and these things. So we have recommendation of some strategies and goals, and then we will see that we're really going in the right track to implement these strategies, and the performance measures will help us to do that. We are federally mandated, to implement the performance measures. It's all related to transportation. As you see, safety, pavement and bridge condition. Also look at the congestion, freight users, and then congestion mitigation and air quality. However, since we're doing a comprehensive plan, So I'm not only looking at the mobility and transportation, we also look at the economy, the land use, and the environment. So we developed like a different performance measures, like to meet other elements within the plan. The influences and the futures, in the beginning of the 2050 plan, once we completed all the public meeting, the first one, we thought like, okay, we have some influences that like is going to affect our, recommendation or strategies. The first one is the regional assets, like we have the Lake Michigan, we have the Indiana Dunes, we have geological, we have the proximity to Chicago, existing infrastructure, so we have to consider all of these regional assets, because we already have it, we have to improve it, and we have to consider it in all our strategies for the future growth. Environment, the environmental group we are different groups, worked in these things, so Kathy and her group worked in the environment. They thought that new energy and sources, wind, is very important, that like we should look into that, the increased water demand and extreme weather and climate events. We looked at the people, we have an aging population within the area. We have low population growth. Some people, they think, okay, we are fine like that, but if you have a slow population growth, it means that like economy is not good. I'm not having the good businesses to attract more people to move to the area. So some people like that, but when we look at the negative impact, it's really affecting our economy. Migration and immigration, which we have a significant, immigration and migration within, especially Lake County, jobs and personal income, housing market, all of these things, like we have to think about it when we make recommendations or strategies for the 2050 plan. The economy, e-commerce is, is a big thing happening. It's growing, it grows by 40% in the last 5 years. And everybody now shopping online, we see big boxes closing, and and it's changing. We never expected that, but like it's happening. And what we're gonna do, with all of these vacant, huge big boxes, how we gonna transfer that? So, and we also made significant recommendations under the economy section related to that. The global competitiveness and economy with the steel mills that we have here, and going overseas, and how is that going to affect the area here. We have the what's this? Containerization. The blockchain. And that's also something happening here that we should look into that. Tourism, we still, like we have a tourism area, we have Indiana Dunes, the Lake Michigan, all of these assets that like how we're going to improve tourism to attract, like people to come here more than like Michigan area.
Excuse me, can you go back to containerization and say what that is?
The blockchain.
Yeah.
That's, like the moving, like it's more about, like the freight and these things. I'm not the one, like good one to explain that much, but like that's what they said it's increasing, and how we're gonna, like handle that.
It's like in time delivery, and
yeah,
and it's how business does their stuff, so they're moving stuff around a lot.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
It's like intermodal facilities and
Yeah,
these
and
things.
you're
Yeah.
seeing that more, that you do the internet shopping and that
Yeah.
type of stuff, it's.
And that's increasing
So
the,
that's gonna be a big issue.
big issue.
Yeah, it's just a trend, and how that's changing rapidly.
Trades and tariffs, and we see that also coming, like with the, the new tariffs that came in the area. People are not familiar with that, and that's something should be considered. The entrepreneurship capacity, and that's also small businesses and startup. It's growing, and how to have a good environment and promote people to doing more of the startup and entrepreneurship. The technology, like we have the big data, telecommuting, a lot of people, now like working from home, or they have like a satellite location in a different states and how we gonna deal with that too. Shared mobility with the Uber and Lyft, and it's growing quickly, and people like it. I like it personally. I was just overseas and I was using Uber all the time, every day. And it was very convenient. They come in like 3 minutes, and they charge me less than taxis. So taxis charge me more money. So I really like it, and I know it's more in the big cities than like a small regional area. The drones, which is airplane that like taking, satellite images, or they can also track traffic and these things using the drones. That's like, it's an old technology that is growing now. The AVs, or autonomous vehicles, connected vehicles, and 3D printing. That's all, like technology. I'm not the best person to ask me about all of these things. We have people specialized in that, but like I know I have like some good idea about that. But anyway, these are the influences and the future that like will be considered, like within our strategies and economy. And we already, like did that with the other elements of the plan. Once we are finished with the environmental strategies, we already sharing the other ones online, because some people from different committees would like to see all the strategies. So if you are interested, it will be posted on the website to see, what we did with the e-commerce, what we did with the freight, what we did, like with the shared mobility and these things. So we have a different strategies covering most of these. Today we are like within the environment, the new energy, increased water demand, extreme weather, climate events. That's something that will be more related to the environment. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question on the environmental, those 3 points. Where did those come from?
So that's exactly what I was gonna say. So what we were trying to, I guess, there was a staff exercise, because we all have done a lot of exercises, and this, so we know climate change is happening, and that's a big influence. And we were trying to look at for the influences, things we don't necessarily control, they're going to happen to us, so are we planning for them? And my thought was, one, what about climate change impacts all this other stuff and impacts what we do? And there's a lot of ecology that climate change impacts. If we ever do get serious about mitigation, that'll influence the economy a lot. But the big thing in my head was, okay, we have the Great Lakes, we have all this water. If one of the results of climate change is that there's less water in other parts of the country, will that turn around our population? Like, because the shrinking of the Midwest manufacturing regions is not just about us and here. I mean, that's what do they call it, super
It's
trend?
nationwide.
That's a nationwide trend, right? That the population has left the Great Lakes for warm places because of freezing cold here. So, and would climate change could, if it gets to a point, could actually reverse that trend, right? Where people head here, because we have less natural disasters, we have less hurricanes, and we have water. So I was thinking that that would be an environmental factor that could shift a lot of the other things around. Right.
So I've gone to quite a few conferences, and access to water and affordable water is the new political topic that everyone is discussing, because
So it goes back
because
to
we need it.
right. And we have that as an asset.
Droughts are happening in the south, coming in the southern areas, western territory, more droughts are occurring. So they are beginning to look at the Great Lakes in terms of, I think Wisconsin was the first state to break the compact agreement, and I think there are going to be others that follow.
So the question is, what's more likely to happen?
Yes,
Will the compact fall apart and we lose all our water? Or will all the people and the businesses just move here? I don't know. We're actually in a good position with, so that's kind of, and I should say that the wind was an example of new energy sources. That would also include solar and other stuff. But so,
Maybe we should put solar or geothermal?
Cause we
whatever
did that when we
out
were
there?
doing the other things that, we can tweak these, the wind is, i.e. wind and solar, can
Yeah.
tweak these stuff, yeah.
Kathy, as you do the planning, are you paying attention to what is going on? There's a huge, Senator Charbonneau has a huge movement on developing a water resource master plan for the
Yes.
state of Indiana. There is a water, summit that was held this past year. It's gonna be again in Indianapolis next year. So looking at it, not only from our little, northwest corner, but engaging in all that. And so making sure that what we look at, particularly as we look at Waukesha and some of the others that have gotten the water, how do we integrate what we're doing here with everything else? That's one question. The other question is, we need to start including in the environment the change in recycling and what's going to be done and what's going to be available. With China now pulling out of the recycling option, the recycling industry is going to change, and what we can do here is going to change. So we need to be aware of how we keep our residents and constituents involved with that. And now we have China wanting to come and bring their recycling manufacturing here. So we'll become maybe a source. Or,
So I have two, I can respond about this. With regard to the water supply, I'm following, the state, the Commerce Department in Sherburne. I'm following that to the extent that I am able to, given that we are not allowed to spend our transportation planning dollars. So, to the extent, that goes to this whole, when we start talking about strategies, and I mentioned who does that, where's the best place for that to be? Maybe it is us, but if it is us, we need to figure out how to fund us to do it, or is it an AFSM, or is it, who else? So, or is it the local water utilities, how do we do that? So I'm aware of it. I've had at least one meeting with Charbonneau, and I communicate with Jack Whitman a lot, because I need to study. So yes, it's very important, and we don't have capacity really to do a lot of water supply work here right now. But we should include it and build it into this, that it's an ongoing thought. With regards to solid waste and recycling, actually after 2040, that was a big part of the public input we received, and I made some forays into that area. And again, kind of ran into the same issue. We had, Carrie Hamilton, is that her last name? We talked about the recycling in the state, and again, it's one where it's really challenging for NERC to take a lead on. Therese tried to help me with some data and some things, but then that is an area that's brought to the household hazardous waste collection. They split up on that. They're not doing that together anymore. We're reversed.
and since January 1, that's all changed. And so, the board is just now looking at how we're going to pursue that. And just would like to make sure that you
Right.
know what's going on.
And we know what's going on. I don't know where to put it. I guess it would go under renewed Northwest Indiana. We could talk about, have that in there, strategies.
Any other comments before we move on?
Just quickly, the one aspect where you were talking about wind, maybe it's solar, maybe if it just simply says, sustainable energy sources, that way it would be covered.
Yeah.
There are other aspects
Yeah.
going down the pipe, so maybe if just the word sustainable was
I
there,
think we've changed it in some other documents. We just haven't changed it.
yeah, it's just a little more all encompassing.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're doing is, as I mentioned, we're going element by element. And for the environment, you have the 4 goals for connected, renewed, united, and vibrant. And the first one, as you see, connect fragmented natural areas and integrate links between people and green spaces to increase resiliency and health outcomes. And the next one is, and I think the recycling will be a good one here, because clean and protect air, land, and water, and natural habitats to sustain and enhance the environment's safety and health for all. And we'll go, over that later anyway, I don't wanna just read every one by one because we're gonna read it again. So that's how we do it, for 4 goals and then draft all the strategies for the 4 goals. As we did the strategies, like we are in phase 1, so we had breakdown of the strategies to could be technical assistance, education and awareness, funding and finance, legislative initiative, partnership, and others. So this is how we break down the strategies, and then under each one, if it's a technical assistant, what kind of implementation action would be a policy, we recommend a program, maintenance, data, or other. So that's what we're doing now. Once we are complete all the strategies, we will assign responsibilities. Who will be responsible to implement these strategies? NERC, it could be a partners, a group of people including NERC, a catalyst, or others. That's a phase 2. And then once also we finish that, we will develop the performance measures, assign the appropriate one for every strategy. So later on, like when we track the changes, these performance measures will help us, know, are we going in the right direction or still going, as usual. So this sheets of the exercise, what we're gonna do here is we have the connected, renewed, united, and vibrant. So under connected, we will go column by column. So we will go take the first one. So in connected, we have the goals, and also we have all the influences, listed. This is an example from a different element, but and then we will go through that. Go technical assistant and then go to finance or data, whatever, but finish column by column. So that's how we're gonna work with the sheets that you have.
Does everybody have this? Okay. Once we put it in the spreadsheet, we can zoom so we can actually read it.
Do we have the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Can you do it?
Well, when you're finished.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm almost finished. So we're gonna start the work session because I don't wanna waste a lot of time because this is gonna take good time. But hopefully we finish it today because that's the last committee. But take your time. If you feel that you still need more time in another meeting, we could do that. But we will try our best to see what can we do.
Can you go back to the last slide? The one before that. I just wanted to, before we dig into this, we've struggled with this as a staff around a lot, and kind of the way I've thought about it, I'm going to give an example, if we want more green space, the policy could be conservation development. So how would we achieve the policy of conservation development? Would we achieve it through technical assistance? Would we achieve it through education awareness? Would we achieve it through funding and finance, throwing money at it? So I found it helpful to think about it backwards. Start with is this a policy, is this a program? Also, I wanted to say when we say maintenance, here we're talking about, this is something we're already doing, we just need to keep doing it.
So that's why you changed it to sustained effort.
That's
So like MS4 is a sustained effort. You guys are just gonna keep doing it because we have to.
Yeah.
And so over time, will that achieve our goals, or is there gonna be more stuff added? That's kind of the sustained effort is the stuff we just aren't gonna keep doing it. And then policy things are like a conservation development policy might have to be adopted at a local community level. We can't adopt that, so then how do we get there? Technical assistance. So that's kind of.
See, I think you could do some of this without it costing you a great deal of money. If you have municipalities that are required under a permit, and the new permits are gonna be out soon. So looking at, say, green infrastructure or protecting natural areas, if you're able to work with the municipality, which makes up your board, and say, this is what we're recommending that you do, not only will it help our long-term plan, but it will help your permit compliance too.
Well, and this is where, I guess, where it's not all us. Effectively, is MS4 permitting going to drive conservation development, then it's already, that's the chain, that's the implementation chain. And maybe we do just provide technical assistance, what does conservation development mean? And then,
Yeah, and that's like the second phase.
yeah.
Once we have finalized that, we will see
Right.
who's doing what. And it
Right.
could be like a group of
But it's all-
entities or, NERC or
But so the
others.
fact that, but it matters that you know that that might come out of
Yeah.
permitting, because it matters in what strategies we would put into the plan.
Does everybody know what MS4 permitting is?
Okay, so let's start. I think I'm having Joe here helping us with that. And if you need any help with here.
Oh, I do know.
Well, just looking at this, initially, I think the first one, under connected,
I think I need to move that.
it needs to go united.
Yeah, I was thinking, so I was doing some of these and Joe was doing some, and I was confused because we were giving transit, alternative fuel transit people points and connected. So I put it in connected, but it doesn't belong there, it really belongs in renewed or in vibrant, so I was just.
Which one?
United, because united is buildings and
The first,
coalition.
yeah, the first two items under policy, technical assistance and connected are about, alternative energy, transit and alternative energy infrastructure. So it shouldn't be under connected, it should be, because alternative energy is probably.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna do. Like if we have any recommendation to move it somewhere else, we did that with the other cities.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do you wanna move that?
I think that first one should be under united, because united is building region-wide coalitions to advance sustainability.
Okay.
So you're talking about promoting a shared agreement between communities.
I actually have it on United also.
Which
That's
one
the
are you
other
talking
question.
about?
So we could strike that.
So board chair.
Yeah. So I was first thinking I had to fill in every box, so I was putting them everywhere, so maybe that.
If it applies to multiple, should it not be in multiple?
It doesn't go.
Yes.
Your spreadsheet is a task.
Hmm?
Your spreadsheet is a task.
This is a working, I took it from a meeting to a working meeting.
Look at
Oh.
the description of connected.
Yes.
It's all about green.
areas, people in green
Yeah.
spaces.
See, and then I see links, is it links between people and green spaces or connecting people? What is the
Connect,
what is the
permanent,
more
natural
important,
areas.
what is the more important word in that phrase, you see what I'm saying? Are you talking about connecting people, if you're talking about connecting people, that's transportation.
We're
You're
talking
talking people to people or people
You
to
gotta,
green?
you gotta look at what the description is saying, but then, so if you're talking about promoting shared agreements, you're not talking of alternate fuels, you're not talking about sharing agreements about connectivity.
So a different way to get it, so if this one is about also connecting people to green space. If we wanted to have a transit piece to it, it would be more like, we say transit to parks or proximity of transit to.
Shuttles from the
Right.
South Shore to Dunes.
Yeah,
That
because
are
that would
electric.
be, that could go
Does that
under,
make sense?
that could go under connected, but the fuel and how they run them would be under, still be under renewed. And then the sharing of the thing would be under United. So it's all the same thing, right?
Isn't it connectivity also about fragmented habitat?
Yes, it's got two, the
So-
connect, yeah, integrated
Okay,
links.
I don't see it as that, I don't see it
It's
as
both.
connecting people now. This is making a much bigger green space stamp footprint.
And I see it, I think of the
Yes.
green link, how we're trying to connect lands
Yeah.
and then create opportunities for people to enjoy.
This is supposed to be both, connecting that habitat to each other and connecting people to that for health and blah, blah, blah. So that's what connected is. If we want more of it, I think we were thinking sustainable, protecting diverse and unique ecological treasures is under vibrant. So more conservation land is under vibrant.
connecting, the conservation land is under connect.
But
Currently.
just one thing, the goals we already presented many
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
like for people to review it. And I know it's a very, like a general, broad, like goal. That's why strategies, like explaining more. And as you see here, we don't have objectives. So we jumped from goals to strategies. So you could find the strategies more like an objective. So explaining what's behind this like broad goal. So if you have anything, it will be more, like explained within the strategies.
So are committees using the same strategy in multiple columns?
Yes.
Yeah.
We did the same thing,
So-
same exercise.
Is everybody okay with it being both places?
If you go down 3 spaces, see how the first one is promote shared health, go down to increase accessibility to open space and parks and blah, 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 blah. That's, so it looks like it's been separated out here, I just noticed that.
So strike promote shared energy under connected?
I would say, I would,
And leave it under united.
yeah.
Because it is all of these things elsewhere in a different way, does that make sense?
Yeah, it is.
So can we just go through the one by one and then have the discussion so we can, because I got class 2 where you are.
That's all right, Emma.
That's what it's gonna be. So, okay, so we're moving, we deleted it from there. So
Yes.
the next one, under connected,
So you already deleted what?
we deleted the first one,
Remote,
promote.
you deleted that or you
Promote
moved it?
share, well, because it's already somewhere else, and we don't wanna do
Ah, okay,
Not a good fit.
okay.
I agree with, we need to stay like in an order here.
Yeah.
that. Yeah, we're gonna go.
There's too much.
We're in column B, we're moving down cell by cell.
Yeah.
So following the logic we just discussed, the second one, plan that all regional transit, that could either go to renewed or to vibrant, because it's,
Well, Vibrant is endorsed innovative energy.
okay, so that would go to vibrant. Do we already have it in vibrant? I don't know.
So the second one moved to under review,
Under vibrant,
vibrant?
Is going to Vibrant?
yes.
No, it's not under there.
So it's not there now, so,
Okay.
You guys getting this written, Candy, are you getting this written
yes,
down?
move to
Awesome.
vibrant.
I'm taking notes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the moving stuff would be too hard in formatting, so we'll just wait that.
So, okay, second one, we move it to vibrant under technical assistance still?
Yes.
Yeah. So then, to increase accessibility to open space and parks, local government should adopt open space plans and public access standards. What?
I think this is appropriate in the county, local governments, most of them, I don't know about the smaller communities, they should have master park plans, so, yeah, I think
Or
that.
should be up to,
Why is this under technical assistance, I mean, policy and not program inspection plan?
well, it could be multiple, that's another question. What is the,
Okay.
so how would we, if that's a strategy we would like to see happen,
Right.
how do we get there from here? Do we get there from here with technical assistance or money or,
Yeah.
Multiple, can there be multiple?
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
And,
Sarah, you're saying you want it moved, or what?
Well, I think it could go under multiple, I think that they may need technical assistance to write said policy.
Okay.
But they might need money to hire a consultant, but they might need a.
Planning.
yeah, but it should be like a policy within the local governments.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
to increase accessibility to open space. So that's,
That was my point, saying
Yeah.
that maybe the smaller communities don't have that.
Yeah.
The larger communities do have some kind of policy to where everybody's
Yeah.
on the same page as far as the parks and open space.
But so my question to you, Jennifer, or Brenda, if the local government people, do all the master park plans have just green space, habitat, or they, cause some of them are like all sports. Like, so that's what I'm,
They don't have
so, oh,
Not
you can
all
do it
of
all.
them.
them.
So,
Well, especially with these new, okay, so the the counties are currently updating them, and they all are pretty much incorporating, some sort of green infrastructure. They're all, green space. It's just all evolving into that. These are just sitting down and talking to them. That's the direction that it's going.
You're talking about the counties?
I'm talking about the counties and
Municipalities are not there
municipalities
yet.
may not be.
Some of them are.
But some of them are. Cause I know the areas.
You're right.
So we need to
Just
leave
be
the
there,
policy and then add a program. But that's what this is all about, is creating those policies, looking ahead to try to.
Yeah.
So we need to massage this one a little bit so that it reflects more that some communities may be doing this and we want all of them to move there.
Yeah, and actually some EJ areas, really, like they are lacking open space, and accessibility, like to be like in a safer, to take their children, to the parks or open space. So that the standards should be like maybe, like if for every residential area or a number of population, or residents, that they have to have accessibility within walking distance.
Yeah.
So these are the standards that like we will make sure that every community has these type of standards.
But it appears we're doing the right thing. Yeah.
So what I would suggest is that you start the sentence with help local governments adopt open space plans and public access standards to increase accessibility to open space and parks. So you don't have should,
Right.
because nobody likes.
You shouldn't, okay.
You are starting with help and it fits with the technical assistance, and that's really what you're trying to do.
And that'll,
You should.
No, Jeff.
You should. You're right.
that'll move into,
Okay.
with the permit compliance, the new permit is gonna require master plans, and then it will require not only having a plan that's sitting on a shelf, but updating the ordinance. So we're gonna be working with the municipalities on how to create an ordinance that includes this. So,
And then when you're presuming trends, because, and the reason why I brought up the counties is because, they're kind of a lead, so we would presume that future development would take that lead and wanna incorporate these type of policies, these type of processes. And we're looking to the future. This is supposed to be our future. This is the way it looks like it's going. So I think pre-planning for that in all aspects, policies, program planning, funding, we need to look at that these people may start doing these things because some of it is a lot cheaper than the methods that they're using currently.
So can we add that same verbiage we just came up with and, under program and plan also?
Yeah, I think this is gonna be like some of the other spreadsheets. Once we get the first few, then we'll be just like, oh, do the same thing over again. But, so Joe, you're having trouble, right, because of the joined, you can't add rows?
I am not that savvy in Excel. I'm gonna be relying on notes. I'm a lot quicker that
Yeah.
way. I will
Okay.
sit down with staff.
Okay,
So I'm more than happy to bring this up for Zoom or follow, but
okay.
the one point that I kind of wanted to mention in this that I don't want to be lost with the connectivity piece is for these not to be done in a vacuum within a community, because that could be easily done and you can use that regional approach. You can be connected within your community, but if you're not communicating what's happening over here, you can still have that gap where you've lost those benefits. So the communication piece, things kind of like a consensus, as it were, on the connectivity piece. Not within a vacuum, within a community's footprint.
So I think we should put that in United.
that's exactly what the NICE group was started off to be, and then got lost somewhere and then in the forest. So requiring those municipalities to get back to coming together on that type of thing is good and won't cost you any money.
So I think we can have a similar item to help local governments adopt open space plans and public access standards to increase accessibility, blah, blah. A similar one under United that says something to the extent of maintaining connectivity between.
Yeah, like collaborative,
Yeah.
I don't know, connectivity plan, something like
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Okay, we're on the next one?
Yeah.
Can I make one more suggestion? That, a number of these things, if you reverse the sentence, it is
Yep.
it makes more sense. So the bottom one in that technical assistance one, if you started it with encourage and pursue instead of to.
Yep.
All of those will make them more palatable and fit the slot better.
Yeah.
Because you are, that's what you're using your technical assistance for, is to encourage and promote, and then you get to the what to do.
And it sounds.
Joe's gonna shoot me because I just told him to reword all those to put the to do this, but.
That's all right, I dropped that pretty quick because mine operates kind of like that way.
Okay.
It's wordsmithing
Yeah.
at this point,
But,
so
but,
just
but
need to be
that's,
aware.
it's all
Yep.
communication and who you're trying to.
Right, and once we agree on a format,
Do this.
then it's easy to do them all.
And it sounds less forceful, it sounds like you're giving options,
I'm sorry.
selections.
I had a question too about, not, or a comment I suppose, about the regional transit fleets using clean energy, much like what Jeff is saying. But, interest in the, plan that all regional transit fleets use clean energy. Does that mean be 100% clean energy or have one vehicle that operates on clean energy? Encourage them to have a plan to incorporate, something that we might want to think
Well, so
about.
it's different on the fleet, so in that particular one, we literally own all but 3 entities buses, we buy them all. So NERC could literally, and we have a long-term asset management plan where we replace the buses on a cycle. We can literally say, in the
Kathy,
future.
we're jumping pounds.
I know, okay.
And we're just going back.
No, I just went back up.
Well,
Yeah,
On the same topic that
Oh.
Jeff was.
yeah, we will reword all
Okay.
things similar to the
I
way
got it.
we're rewording.
Yeah, but Kathy, just in this one, plan that all regional transit fleet use clean energy by 2050. That's more like a goal. So we would like to explain more how we're gonna do that.
Well, it's gonna depend on which, in technical assistance, we can help GPTC plan for that. Under funding, we can only buy those, I mean, it depends which bucket we're in. It's the same goal is the clean energy fleet, that's the goal. And we put different things and strategies in different buckets.
But again, like Jeff said, encourage, support,
Yeah,
you
the
know, assist.
rewording.
Yeah.
That was my.
Yeah.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Okay, fragmentation.
Under connected technical assistance, I'm wondering, I know it's under funding, but I'm wondering if it makes sense to add something about prioritizing land acquisitions to increase connectivity.
If we can get all the way through the ones that are listed and then before we close out of that section,
Yeah,
we'll.
I was wondering if that was
adding.
part of the next one.
We could help,
Or if that
or
could
do
be
that clarified.
included in the next one somehow, where the technical assistance, in order to prioritize those sites, might be included in that natural area protection and connectivity. Something about
Yep, I get what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just gonna keep talking and saying the same thing.
So, but we didn't finish the, if we start with the word like to help or encourage use of conservation development practices and to reduce natural area fragmentation. Is that one good? Okay, and then the next one, we're gonna include, technical assistance to help prioritize the natural area protection.
I think a prioritization of land acquisition or parcels that increase habitat connectivity, some sort of assistance in that prioritization would be helpful.
So this policy one is about their planning and then.
That might go under planning.
I guess so.
I don't
So
know.
where you are now, because.
And the natural area protection.
So is everybody following us
So
with
maybe
that?
now we're in the
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5th box.
So we are in number what, 4 or 5?
We rewrote 4 and then moved on to 5.
Okay, because I think it was just a discussion between both of you. So everyone, did you hear? Sarah, can you repeat what you wanna do? Because I think nobody.
I don't know if it would go under the fifth box now that I'm looking. I just thought that technical assistance in helping to prioritize parcels for land acquisition for increased habitat connectivity might be a good
That's
technical assistance that can be offered.
But I think it's a different one
But it
than this
might be
one
a
here.
different one
I think
than
this
this
one is about everybody
Yeah.
working together.
Use natural.
Yeah, I think it might be
Priority
its
is a
own.
different one, so I
I
think we
agree.
add that as a separate one that maybe can't get this.
Yeah, you're right. So this one's okay, but we're gonna reword it into the health, re-change the phrases around.
Okay, so moving to number 5.
Yes, okay.
Any comments on the?
The next one, the buffer one.
So it's okay as it is, maybe reword it, so it's too long.
Joe,
Yes.
Okay.
we have number 6.
Definitely encourage.
Yeah, I would start with encourage.
No, we're the next one. So, but this one is very, and I wanna make sure, this is one of my personal, like I can throw this in everywhere. I feel like if we have public ownership, it goes back to paddling and accessing the waterways, and then Indiana's weird navigable water ways that you can't be in, that it's, the water is public, but it's not. So that if we get all the land along the water, recreational water that is in public hands, then now the water becomes public, open. So this is sort of a big policy statement to make, and so I would really make sure everybody's reading that that's what I'm suggesting.
Well, the suggestion is,
There's a policy that
It's almost like it would need to be riparian plus some right of way.
well, I want, so, I feel like if we had the riparian, we had a right of way on the riparian land, or a setback
Yeah.
that couldn't be developed in the, it was an easement, a public easement or something. I'm trying to,
so right away would be owned by a community, that would take money to purchase. But then it would take
You're
a
listening.
hell of a lot of money to maintain.
yes, so.
So that ain't gonna happen.
Well, we're working on a strategy for that in
That's why I said
public.
it's a big train. This is.
Yeah, I didn't want everybody to gloss over what this is saying, like,
We're all gonna apply.
because it
Yeah.
would improve connectivity for habitat, the
Oh, yeah.
water's going, it would, it's a
It'd be,
win.
it would be more advantageous to promote land ownership of riparian areas and proper care and maintenance of those areas.
Going back to Eastern.
Right.
To what?
You're not gonna get communities to buy a bunch of riparian area. No, you're not.
So what, but if you made it a rule that a developer had to maintain it in public, like, so this is connected in people, so I'm talking about ecological connectivity, but also people. But could you do it by planning and zoning regulations, or would you still have to buy? Could you do, is there a regulatory approach to that?
Using open space requirements, community open space requirements for a common area?
Yeah.
Is that,
Well,
Or a
then you run
setback.
then you run into the issue of, so we have a big condo development going in, and they're right up against the floodplain to Coffee Creek. It's a wide floodplain, it could accommodate a public trail system, so we have to create some kind of easement for the trails. But you would have to worry, one, about the maintenance. They own the property.
Yep.
We just have an easement
Yep.
for, so, and then say you didn't put a trail in, and they may not wanna open it up to the public, because they will be, people
They're
hanging out,
expensive
causing
condos.
problems.
It's theirs
Right.
and not the conservancy districts?
The riparian area, I'm just using this as an
Okay,
example.
okay.
So that's where I feel like, are there other ways, could you?
Could you do water quality as well, in addition to access, if you had that water quality element in terms of like restoring it?
That would be under Lake Renewed, could you say the easement goes to you're only saying the users really have to, you could do the easement,
Goes to that profit or something.
the easement goes to, land trust, or the easement, the riparian.
Sure, because the land trust is gonna be.
Now, they wanna maintain it, right, that's a whole other question, but I mean,
It all boils down to money, obviously, but then it also boils down to public access and allowing people public access on private property,
But when-
whether it's an easement or not.
But the water is public, but the property isn't, so I'm just saying that making it public, some kind of public ownership gives people access to the water, but I recognize that it's a complicated
Yeah.
topic.
But then you'd have to tell a contractor and developer that if he's gonna come in and utilize this amount of land, you don't get all this because that's gotta remain public with public access.
And then you gotta be careful with that because that can become a taking and their property, that's where it always ends up regardless, of the easement.
Mhm.
And if you somehow try to incorporate it in your zoning, then you're gonna be in courts trying to tell this person why you're infringing on their property and they're losing access. And, we already having issues with people, not wanting people to access the beach because their homes are there. So I think it's a great idea. Future planning for it is just, it's gonna be a lot to,
It's gonna take a lot
it's gonna take a lot of avenues.
Case by case basis.
Yeah.
on
We
a-
take that, we put it in
No, I think it
the
should be it should stay.
heavy lifting, hard, but, the hard, really hard, but.
Do you have a suggestion?
Yeah, I think I like it as a goal, it's a stretch goal. And I think we're getting in the weeds here, kind of
Yeah.
confining ourselves by the present and how hard it'll be. So, nobody has to do this, it's a it's a choice they have in applying for funding. But I like it as that stretch, that it's there and we think about creative ways to.
Encourage, so there's youth encouraged.
Maybe think the word is
And there may be opportunities in
Encourage.
these situations where it would apply.
So if we
encourage
understand this one like you guys now do, it could be controversial, and you're my people, right? So if this group can't get behind this, then we should take it out or water it down.
Well, just put encourage instead of to, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the other half of the sentence. I think we should flip
Yep.
Yep.
the sentence.
That's what-
Yep.
Yeah, we can flip them all,
So
so.
encourage public ownership of riparian buffers to connect natural areas, and public access to water bodies.
Right.
But I'm wondering if you
When feasible,
if
if it's
you,
feasible
if
to do
you
it.
Yeah.
also add, encourage private owners to maintain their riparian areas to allow that connectivity to occur.
I would put that under renewed, maybe I even have it under renewed.
Do you?
Reduce development impacts to area water bodies, promote policies that, it could be, that could be changed to managing.
But it's gotta be.
I think I have it under renewed, but, okay, we can reword that when we get there.
Maybe with softness, if we didn't say just riparian buffers, because that makes me think the entire buffer to be parts of it. So if you had every mile kind of a little public access, that might be on private land, so you still have the access to the water, but it's not the entire buffer, maybe that softens it a little bit.
Well, I don't have all, let's see, okay.
So does
I
everybody
think
wanna add the private part in there, in that section? Yes?
Yeah, private ownership with public access.
Public and private ownership.
Private ownership with public access.
And strike buffers.
We could just say riparian,
Buffers or,
maybe riparian corridors, riparian areas. Is buffers too specific, and you could say areas and. They're all non-stop sidewalks. Everybody said, I'm gonna make you guys sit every other with like 2 chairs between everybody.
Focus, let's go through this.
No, it's okay. I mean, I know, I'm like that too, I'll do that too.
all right, is there anything else under
So-
policy?
Yeah, so we completed the technical assistant and policy, just, to wrap up this one, we deleted the first one, the second one, we moved it to vibrant, and then rewording the other ones, right?
Right, do we have,
Okay.
is there anything we missed here you guys can think of that should be a?
What Sarah was mentioning, the priorities, the prioritization, I'm not sure whether it goes in the policy one or somewhere else, but that's something that might be.
She said she's gonna put it in.
I think it
It's a
should
planning.
go under, I think it should go under technical assistance, part of it, I think,
But
In
program and
terms-
plan.
of somebody offering assistance in terms of land acquisition prioritization. So just because a parcel is available, it may not provide as much habitat connectivity as a different parcel. So
Okay.
some level of assistance in people being able to know that we have limited funding. So what is gonna make the biggest impact in terms of connectivity? And who's gonna know that? Who can I go to get that answer? That always seems to be a struggle. I mean, buy anything, I say, I respect it, but if you only have so much money.
So is that technical assistance? Well, let's put it
I don't know.
here. Wait, we have a other line, technical
Ooh, I
assistance,
like
other.
I think it could hang out in planning as well.
I think it's a
but
program and
I
plan,
think
yeah.
it's education.
Yeah, let's do program plan.
Okay.
Okay, let's leave policy, we're down to program plan.
Only 500 more cells to go, folks. We're getting there.
Okay, so now I have another fuel and energy one.
Yep.
So where do
We
we
have a
want to?
suggestion that it get moved to where,
Where, was that, yeah, want to go in United or Vibrant?
Vibrant. Because in Vibrant, you're talking about endorsing innovative.
Okay.
Yep.
okay, we'll
Okay.
visit that.
So first one, move it to Vibrant.
Driving, yep.
Can I make a general statement about the word energy? Can we say energy and fuel? Because I think most people think energy is what fuels things and fuels transportation. Energy kind of is more your buildings and electricity and things like that. I think we need the word fuel in here too. Because that's what you're looking at.
To support fuel and energy.
Overall, it's, some places it says energy on the page. I know we're staying focused, but some places we're saying energy when I think we really mean fuel. So if we say energy in this cell, but elsewhere on the page, you've got just energy, just say energy and fuel as we move forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I do something crazy? So I drew a line from this first cell to get it over to Vibrant, and I drew it to the Model 3 ordinances on the last column, which I think should be in the policy of connected.
Model 3 ordinances, Vibrant.
Oh, under policy?
Should be connected and under policy, so that's what you're trying to do is help communities model tree, do tree ordinances, and the trees are connected because they help make air, and it will help push the other things that are in more connected versus Vibrant.
Would it just be the trees, or would it be also?
Well, that's the first cell that I drew the line to.
I think
so that's what I was thinking.
I think at one point I actually had trees under Renewed Connected in United, so, and then, but we could put them back under Connected.
So I'm sorry to skip columns, but that's what it is.
Do you want trees under policy? Okay.
Because then to me, it also goes with the second cell, create regional urban forestry plan to help improve habitat connectivity across urbanized areas. If you have the Model 3 ordinances above that, that are connected figuratively and literally.
Okay. So we added Model 3 ordinances to connected policy. Okay, now we're back in program plan. We've moved.
Yep.
We've added that connectivity across urbanized areas, create regional, oh,
Flip the sentence, sorry.
yeah, we're flipping all the sentences.
And the next one, participate.
Okay, we're now in cell 3 of, program plan. Any comments?
Start the sentence, participate.
Just rearrange the sentence.
Okay, next.
This isn't, it's not a
It's not
complete
complete
thought.
though.
No.
Great minds think alike. I don't know. It's open to interpretation.
Kathy, what did you mean?
What did I mean? So we are currently having habitat conservation focus area plans. We have a bunch with coastal. So as a program, it's kind of a program that exists, but it's not everywhere. Like we need to continue.
How about encourage?
But we don't have it.
Encourage development, continue development of.
Yeah, so in my mind, this is a program that we are doing now. We are doing it with coastal. We are doing it with, but we haven't reached the Lake Michigan watershed to do it on the Kankakee. Who would we do that? How we, so I guess it's, in my head, it's an ongoing program to develop these plans. But we want to expand it and grow it, so I don't have it under maintenance. I have it under
So put expand.
Expand, okay. Expand habitat focus area plan.
Okay, that's the last one under program plan. Is there anything anyone wants to add to that section? Okay, let's move on. Sustained effort.
There it is.
So there's, yeah.
Update the conservation.
So remember, yeah, so we're gonna update the ones where we already have the conservation action plan areas, and then, the sustained effort would be to continue to treat it. Are there other things that are, going back to my very beginning that we haven't decided who's implementing this yet, I would like to know if there are other efforts by other or existing programs that are relevant here that we could include as part of the strategy.
Tree City USA might be kind of just a good capture. I'm gonna just throw this out there now, where it says like the model, the ordinances or whatever. The ordinances are actually part of the designation, one component of the Tree City USA. The ordinance in itself is not enough to enact or influence totally. Do you have a budget? Do you have a board? And so forth. It's a more comprehensive and encompassing type thing. So if I can be given a little bit of freedom when pulling this information together, I might try to kind of incorporate that in there.
Would that be a technical assistance or a program to support?
I think it could be both, because that's something like the community tree program and the partners can provide to local municipalities that might be interested in becoming a designated Tree City USA.
So
it's kind of both.
would that be, so
Conservation action plan forestry for us, urban forestry.
no, that's, so we would then a separate line of urban forestry.
It's been more, to this point, it's been more natural area land management by conservation organizations and land managers.
So it's like those hub areas, like those areas, all the units, well, kind of area, we have a conservation plan for that. So the urban forestry may impact that just by not putting more pieces, you know, but we could keep urban forestry as a separate.
But we're trying to do it with, I don't want to get into the details, but working with the nature conservancy.
Yes. Yep.
To do inventory in our public parks.
Yeah, that's where
Eventually
we,
moving to having urban forestry.
that's where they're gonna integrate the two conservation plan and the urban forestry plan into the regular parks. No, that's why I would like to include I'd like to include other strategies that are being implemented in the region besides just ours. So, does MS4 have a place in the, I don't know if MS4 has a place in this connectivity one, definitely has a.
I guess I just kind of like, so it's hard to sometimes, it's hard to think about some of that stuff like on the spot in the moment. Is there like kind of like a time frame that we can give to the group? If you come up with something or you think of something outside of today, you need to have it for inclusion by next date, like sometime next week, to me.
So, yeah, because like, so here's an, this, you know, had like the dunes landscaping, or say the dunes working with property owners to do native landscaping. Is that an ongoing program that you anticipate doing? Then that would be a sustained effort, and we continue sustaining that. Will that increase connectivity? That's kind of an example of stuff that I'm thinking
Now I
about.
get it. I didn't understand what you were saying.
I know, that's why I had to come up
Like,
with this.
you know, there are a few that, so like, for example, the Audubon Society is doing, like, focused, like, land management efforts to increase, habitat for specific kinds of birds. So like, right now, they're looking at like, colonial warbird, like, sort of like a marsh, broad plan in order to like do some land maintenance activities on public land that will increase habitat for these birds. And so they've done that twice now, so there's a Waterford one, now there's a Colonial Waterford, totally different. So something like that to maybe encourage or continue, land management efforts to increase, habitat for migratory or like, state action related or something like that. Wildlife, like, they're at risk of losing their habitat, we need to do our land maintenance activities, considering that as well. Some sort of sustained effort to continue your planning, land management planning.
So that's under connectivity, do you think? Or
I think so.
environment, or-
I think so because it's migratory colonies that are losing habitat here. So there are a lot of projects like that. I don't know where you would want to stop. Because then it's like, continue this project, continue this project.
So kind of natural habitat land management planning.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's gotta be some, like, can you bring it to a more kind of like broad,
Right.
overarching,
And it's almost like all land management, right? Or use the DNR land management template for all management.
And perhaps if you include all wildlife
Yeah.
in that statement as well. Including wildlife in there, I think, also is
Yes.
the focus out.
Well, I'm gonna say natural habitat, and that could include birds and wildlife and pollinators and stuff.
So, I just want to share that some of the stuff that we're doing with our conservation areas, they're beginning to be found with the citizens that are around. I don't know how you want to say that, but they are reaching, they're reaching beyond their borders, their protected area, and now coming out to the community to say, so that'll
I'd like
happen.
to put that in United. I would like to put that in United, because bringing the public into the natural conservation stuff.
So you don't want to get specific on programs, you want to keep it general?
Yeah, so I'm thinking the community,
Decide.
I guess I would put that up to the group.
It feels like a lot of this falls under conservation action plans. If we just leave it there.
Yeah, we can expand them. So whatever new recommendation or other recommendations, you will explain why we would like to update the conservation plan or to do whatever, like we talked about or.
Habitat management, connectivity.
Yeah, so expand this one, by having the recommendation.
And we could just take the community, we could do urban forestry and tree city and everything under.
yeah, one's kind of the natural environment, the connectivity piece, the other one's the built environment, where we
Yeah.
can enhance those connectivities across.
I think if you change it to conservation and green space action plans or something, it broadens it to all types of lands as opposed to what we generally think of for conservation plans.
So we're gonna stick with broad for this matrix and not use like program brandings.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a good.
And then, and you guys like Joe's idea where so it's a question, do we wanna include everybody's plans? If you think of stuff that you're doing that you think regionally should be a sustained, we could highlight it in here, activities that would be ongoing until 2050. You can imagine doing it until 2050, I'll be retired.
If you receive it and it's relevant,
Yeah. Okay.
Something that's coming out a lot, is to not just do the conservation planning on, trust land or park land, but in people's backyards. So if there's some kind of statement to, include privately held land, communities by the community members themselves. I don't know how to.
And I think that's sort of what Brenda was talking about, that they're doing it in Gary with, yeah, so,
Yeah, we're doing it, we make it close.
right, so whether that goes in education and awareness. Sustained effort is like, is working with public and, yeah.
So for us, we're working with conservation groups, DOE, Land Nature Conservancy, to provide education to the public,
Right.
encouraging them to incorporate native landscaping into their backyard.
And that's our next category is actually education and awareness, so.
Excellent, we can fill out some of that area, there is a lot of blank spaces.
Yeah.
This data.
So I think overall, when Joe and I talk about this, technical assistance would be to communities or large entities, and education awareness would be to regular people. Although sometimes we know we have to educate our public officials. So a fine line between technical assistance and public education awareness, and I'm not sure where the line is, but we've identified them here as separate strategies. Yeah.
You can provide technical assistance to all types of entities
Right.
and elected officials, and then the education goes across a broad spectrum.
That's kind of how we're
Deciding who you're gonna,
laying
how
out.
you're gonna educate them,
Okay, so I think we exhausted sustained effort as we know what we're gonna do going forward with it. We're gonna wordsmith a lot about conservation action plans to include different habitat.
Yeah, and I going along with what you suggested, I really think taking out specific,
Yeah.
in no sense, South Shore Clean Cities, any of that, MS4 programs, any of that is specific, and make it more general, so that more people
Yeah,
can.
because we'll pick that up in the next one with like responsibles, most likely. Then, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
frankly, the fuel and emission data, like as you start looking into some of these
Yeah,
other,
I know.
columns, that's DOE.
Yeah.
It's all DOE, it's all federal.
I really thought about splitting us up into two groups, like air and energy stuff and but then we're gonna do them together.
Right, because like even, and I know we're creeping, but like when you start going over, it says like inventory alternative fuel or energy infrastructure, well, DOE does that, and it's there, it happens, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's not us that does, South Shore's not doing it, I mean, we feed
So it
into
should be in
that.
sustained effort, or, I mean, that's like, it's, so it just.
I mean, I
because it's
don't want
already
to get too far
happening.
ahead, I know we're not supposed to be looking.
So where you are.
But.
Some of it's semantics, what's a sustained effort, if it's something that's happening and then it needs to just keep happening, and, yeah. And who's
Did you move to
doing
data
it,
already?
it doesn't mean we do,
We're
so,
about to.
what?
We're about to move to data.
Okay, we're moving to data.
Okay.
What does that last word mean, where it says collect transportation?
Oh, that got cut off, that's my fantasy dream to go out and have an inventory of all,
Oh, yeah.
culverts and drainage structures and
Yeah, sorry.
create this inventory. I think a lot of MS4s will have it, but all the infrastructure where water and transportation intersects, and have a big database of them.
But then you're just gonna take those areas out of a local, like even a county map, and just concentrate on your areas, you're not gonna get that, but you'll get the map.
But I wanna get what's the structure, what's the diameter, what's the length, is it perched, is it doing its job? I wanna do,
Keep that.
does it, Southwest Michigan has this, they,
Who does it though? Who implements that? Who
The-
does these projects?
Kathy, can we go in order?
We
So we
are.
are in data, the first one to support environmental planning, keep access to and update land cover data. So everyone has any question about this one, the first one, before moving to others?
Joe, you had it. Isn't some of the LiDAR stuff we get from NOAA going away? Is that why this is in here?
So it's kind of like a lot of the environmental planning that we do. I mean, I'm looking at Chicago region type stuff from a long time ago. Yes, I go to like some of the NISWAG meetings and so forth. I'm like, why is NERC not part of like this LiDAR discussion, working with the counties and so forth? Are we getting the impervious data? Are we getting the tree canopy type stuff? So it's kind of like a missing piece, and I don't know if NOAA is going to be moving to a LiDAR. There seemed to be a higher resolution type stuff, but even some of that stuff, I mean, that's like outside of our control. I'm hoping they come up with it, but if they don't, we're gathering it locally, or we have the potential to grab it locally. We need it, so let's call it out.
See, this is the disconnect between the permit, the stormwater permit coordinators and the operator, which is your mayor or the people that sit on your board.
Like the LiDAR?
Huh?
The LiDAR?
Any of that data information.
Right.
No,
No.
in specific to LiDAR, typically, Porter County and Lake County, I don't know about LaPorte County, they have paid for and received LiDAR data, so many years apart, depending on when they shoot and contracts and all that stuff. And then they're offering to the communities at no charge the data. And so, as long as the communities participate with the counties, they also have the ability to get the impervious surface data under the same contracts with whomever's collecting the LiDAR data and things like that. So, or they turn to a university to do some of the impervious work. So, I mean, I think it's more to encourage that we continue to support the counties, particular counties that we're in, to keep collecting the data and keep sharing the data. There's a lot of sharing between counties and municipalities.
But then anything that you want, you should be able to garner from the counties.
Right.
And usually we can, it depends on the person and the day and the,
Well, like the tree canopy stuff, like the impervious, sure, I get that for like the stormwater stuff. But like the tree canopy, I want to make sure I get that. Some of the grassland area or something like that, which shows up as row crop too. But I mean, that's still important information. So there's tidbits of it, but I want like a complete like land cover consistent with like the Chicago region, like a standard type stuff. Like we always get these pieces.
And so for us, and I know, and so this hasn't happened in a long time, but when I first came, you know, periodically the LiDAR thing's coming up, the state's giving you an opportunity to buy in, and then usually Kevin Brights would be the only one that would ask me if NERC wants to participate, and usually it's like a month's notice to come up with a bunch of money that we don't have. So then, no, we can't participate. So then each county's doing whatever they want to do, and does this give us a uniform regional data
Well,
set?
LiDAR is LiDAR.
Yeah, but everybody can buy down to a different resolution.
Right, but it's still LiDAR, you know what I mean? LiDAR, resolution, it pertains to the orthophotography.
Oh, it doesn't.
LiDAR is LiDAR, it's
Okay.
radar, it's elevational information, that's all, that's,
Display my age, thank you.
that it doesn't matter. But it said,
Okay.
you need to make sure, it's like, so we use LiDAR to appeal our floodplain updates. We had to make sure that the LiDAR was shot according to all of FEMA's LiDAR standards to that certification. I think all LiDAR, if you're using a reputable company, is shot to those standards, so.
And I think that we need to, I think where Joe is going, we're looking at connectivity, so I think his main issue is to try to connect the data that's being distributed to everyone. So if certain people are collecting it, how do we make it so that each municipality's data is gathered in one data area? Because when we're talking about data, we're talking about update, we're talking about keeping up with information, we're talking about consistency. I think with LiDAR data, nationally they collect it, and then that's 10, 20 years, there's nobody that's doing it. Then you have these different consultants that you have come in. How do we get that data incorporated and keep updating this LiDAR data? So in 2050, when we look at the data, we all have everything from 2050 from till when we first started. It's more about the connectivity piece, right?
The connectivity piece, but it also is going to come back. I'm thinking a little bit ahead here, but when I have LiDAR data or land cover data, I like the LiDAR just because it's the accuracy with it is for tracking purposes in the future. It'd be easy for me for like, well, how well is the urban forestry program going with percent canopy cover? Okay. Maybe you've got some targets or whatever for impervious.
Or wetlands loss.
So is this the way this is worded now? I know that we want to not have the two, but if the counties are getting it, is this go about shared access to it, or is this?
Well, it's supporting that they will continue to get it because there's a cost associated with it, but then, making sure that if it's a county that's collecting the data, that they are making it accessible to all municipalities or agencies within their county.
I think the same is true for historic aerial photography. Like, I know we're thinking forward, but I'm thinking also back. Like, there's so much historic aerial photography that shows land use change and knowing the intended use of land and original purpose. I think all of that needs to be more widely, I think shared access is exactly what we're talking about.
So we wanna keep it in here, maybe we need to wordsmith it a little bit to
Yeah, I think
reflect
it's-
what's already.
Yeah, I think it's the wordsmithing, but I'm still not 100% to where it would, I need to sit down with the county. Yeah, I get it, it's like laser points or whatever. It's elevation type stuff, but is it being processed, arrived at the county level that it is showing tree canopy, paved surfaces, roadways, water, grassland?
Well,
That's the component too that I wanna make sure that it's being derived from.
Yeah, well, when you get your professionals and they shoot the LiDAR, they'll look at all the mass codes and they'll determine, well, maybe they did catch something, an elevation is off. So they've got to draw their connections a little bit differently because they did catch a monster tree and it's, 40 feet off the ground. So yeah, they know how to look at those points.
Sure, no, I get that, but I just, the elevation stuff, that's fine for contours and all that stuff. I'm in particular interested in, I wanna make sure that the land cover component is being teased out, that we have that data available.
Well, I know from LiDAR, they're able to digitize 3D buildings and other structures. Tree canopy, I'm not sure.
Or they can also go to the impervious surface of the heads of the screws on your deck. So,
The tree canopy stuff, they can't, and New Hampshire's been doing it.
Okay.
Is it a resolution issue? Is it like, I don't.
it's what the counties pay for.
It's
So when
like
it was offered to the communities, you
specs.
could buy the contour or you could buy the impervious surface down to the screw heads.
So are we looking for uniform specs? Like, is that what you're saying?
I
No, like
don't think you'll
everyone.
get it because it depends on who's paying for it.
Right.
And what they're paying for it out of what
What they
fund.
need it
Fund
for.
and for what it's.
Well, like I said, LiDAR is LiDAR. But when it comes to like orthophotography, that's a little bit different. That's where you get into resolution.
I wonder if we should add something about this under education, and awareness under data also, because, many of us, me included, don't really know what we're talking about.
I
The
do.
LiDAR, I don't, and
So
I
I
want
wonder-
to know more.
I'm thinking this data question, we have specific needs for an environment, but there's also needs for it in some of the other, so maybe it's a separate data strategy or something.
Yeah, it could be.
It really crosses multiple
Yes,
of our areas, right?
Yep.
I'm looking at you, man, it's just the
Yep,
land
yep.
use stuff, yeah. So maybe we can look at some of the language that's in there, but yeah, so if it,
okay.
for us to do regional planning, it needs to be consistent, and if everybody's buying different things and coming up with different things, we're gonna find it have to.
We did that with the land use.
Yeah,
We created like a regional land use, in GIS. What we did is we collected all the land use data from all municipalities and counties. And what we did, every community has different zoning and different, specs. Like R1, R2, and some so, and then like we created that, like we had only like 3 category, multi-family, single family homes, so we created a regional land use map. So for us, it was easy, but like it was in the beginning to get all of these municipalities with different land use, we had to create a system for us, to track the analysis because everyone is different. And I think that was very helpful for us, to do that. It took some time. It took us 3 years, to create that because we collected all the land use data and all the zoning data in GIS, and some people, they gave it to us in paper and some in CAD files and some, and to digitize all of this data took some time. But I think in the end, now, doing the 2050 plan, we have all the data, which it's easy to update. So, and I think maybe we need to have something like that because I don't know if every county is different, with the land cover. Is that the same issue with all the counties from LiDAR? Lake County, Porter County, because
I've never gotten land cover data from the counties. I've always gone out to
the
NOAA,
website, yeah,
the
NOAA.
USGS,
Yeah, that's what we do.
or somebody else,
Yeah.
to just put.
But that could be
Yeah, I think that's
a
what
plan.
county gets it from,
See, that's changing.
County buys, county
Lake
buys
County
it.
is garnering more data, so is Porter County. So, you know, to
Yeah,
stay
they're in
current
the-
on that is something that you're going to have to do because EPA is looking for them to collect certain things. So yeah, it could be there. I think data, comprehensive data, whatever you want to use, however you want to use it, has to be consistent
Yeah,
across the board.
that's what I'm saying. It could be a blend. All counties and all municipalities have the same categories. So if we can get like the tree canopy or whatever, you know, is that available at Lake County, at LaPorte County, or only at Porter County? So we have to look into that, you know, like,
So I,
do a program.
That could go under finance as well.
As well.
So
It's it could be,
cost sharing.
yeah.
Okay. So, all right, do we need LiDAR to that? Maybe it's, maybe it's
Bob
up.
did.
Okay. Okay, so wetlands function data are also incomplete sentence. I think that's a project that Coastal's doing right now or going to be doing.
And we're using LiDAR data as well. But we haven't heard about it yet.
But then we're gonna have as a region have a problem, we'll have it for coastal, we won't have it for
Yeah. So this, in theory, we use this sort of data for like conservation planning, but the information might be useful too for municipalities, or for like regulatory agencies, like you're gonna impact X amount of wetland. What functions is that wetland providing in this location? Oh, now you have to mitigate or provide those
That would be helpful for
services.
the new DNR rural feed program too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So listed under
data. So I'm not sure so when we got to data, I wasn't sure it's technical assistance, are we assisting people to get data, are we assisting people, or who's right, because we're still in
I
our.
don't think you could tell that until you know what people need. If the municipalities are garnering this data from the counties, which the counties are expanding, maybe you won't need any financial assistance, but it just would be collecting things to keep what you have up to date. Right. But then you may have a little tiny community, like 2 acres, that needs the help. Okay.
Lost my train of thought, how do we word this? So how do we want to word this wetland function data as a data strategy, or a technical assistance strategy to help, collect and maintain the wetland function data, and explain how to use it.
including but not limited to LiDAR.
Should we go back to what you used, Jeff, when you said,
Yeah.
how did you say it? Help local government to collect and,
Oh, no.
well, not
Are you
collect,
talking wetlands?
just data, just the data part.
Something like posting and making available.
That might be kind of what I was thinking, is let DNR develop theirs, because that's just gonna be in the coastal region.
Yeah.
We serve a larger area, obviously.
Yeah.
We would want something that mimics or is exactly the same or whatever for South County as well.
Methodology.
But yeah, it would be what they're envisioning, what we've been talking about, is like interactive mapping and so forth for local decision makers. So there could be the data and the sharing, the technical assistance by making that available, posting it to something like the NERC's website.
And then because we are planning to use the newer LiDAR data, we fly over imagery, it'd be a way to start with keeping up-to-date data starting now.
Oh, no, that's good.
So like obtain wetland data, you know, like,
Encourage
yeah.
collection of wetlands.
So is there a reason,
Need to
I have a
obtain,
question.
you know, like keep it up to date.
Why is wetland function under the connectivity, the connected?
I don't know. You could, I was like, why is it under there?
I feel like the ideological portion, not that you can do it groundwater.
Well, it's kind of, I guess, because we have these little isolated wetlands when we develop it. So
That
does
needs to go in
like,
economic as well, to figure out a way.
It was a hard bucket to,
And I think it's more connected because we gotta think about where we are. We have a lot of, like you said, smaller wetlands
Yeah.
and parks.
okay.
I think it's
It's a beautiful environment, it's aesthetically pleasing, giving access.
Under what's renewed? Yeah, I think we have to put it under renewed too.
basically what we're looking for with this one is the replacement for aided, for those that remember that exercise.
Or those who are trying to,
And that's what exactly came to my mind,
Yeah.
because
yeah,
unless there's an entity, like a university that was attempted with aided, you know, municipalities aren't gonna go out and map wetlands.
No, absolutely not. So that's kind of like a repository, having that information available to the community. Is it end all be all? No, it's still, you're still gonna have to have boots on the ground.
I rely on the National Wetlands Inventory, and that's how old now, you know?
Right.
so to the extent that we work with DNR and have all the wetland stuff into the fee program, and we can, I mean, they have a statewide plan, but they're open to regional priorities, so this is where we put our regional priorities into the fee.
So should this, because of this, in lieu program through the DNR, should this focus on, the support of, agencies like Lake Michigan Program, and DNR, and making sure that the data is being collected, people are being made aware of it, because even the municipality, so I've got a piece of land right now that's being looked at, it's got 2 wetlands on it. The development wants to keep one as is, but they want to destroy the other one. So, you know, it's, what benefit are they losing?
Yep.
But I have no say-so on whether or not they destroy that, that's up to DNR, item, and the Army Corps.
I think being able to like come up with the economic benefit of these services as well, which is totally separate, I realize it's a separate data set completely, is not something that we're doing for this wetland functional assessment at all. But being able to somehow quantify the economic benefit of these wetlands is gonna give you more data to use to say leave this wetland alone or do a no, I mean, that's a huge data set that is lacking and that nobody knows how to quantify, but might be useful.
We have our ecosystem services thing. What about the point of this, maybe the point of this is to empower regional entities and local governments to, have the data to, interact with DNR and wetland. I mean, even though you can't control what they do, you can inform them if we have more, so we need enough information to even be in that ballpark. So maybe that's what this one is about? As well as something gets out of our.
That's the program, it's for decision makers, it's getting
Right.
information in the hands of decision makers, so as Jennifer said, you can make a valid decision between which one should we save, which one should we mitigate.
And you'll have the tools to make that argument.
Yeah.
So is that in program plan? or-
Right,
So that is
it's not gonna be up to the municipality as to whether they destroy one or both.
Yep.
But it's gonna be up to those agencies.
But if you had functional information to tell the agencies, you know, these 2 wetlands, here's what they're doing for us. Make sure when you're doing your regulatory decision, you know, that you're aware of it. Right now you don't have that information.
You do have some play at the plan commission. If you as a decision maker in the plan commission and see, oh my gosh, we're losing this much function that has this much economic value on flood protection and such, you could choose, the plan commission could choose not to go forward with the development.
Then
if they
that
have
would,
kind of data.
that would be required to be placed under education and outreach, because planning commission, at least, I know our planning commission, yeah, they have concerns about wetlands and everything, but if the development is coming in, it's bringing tax money and all this other stuff.
But that's what this
They're
does.
not gonna argue what the agencies are allowing the developer to do, you know what I mean? Unless it's
But if
a
you're not
really
forwarding that
significant
development to the
location.
point that they're getting permits,
Yeah.
I mean, it's if you're making a decision at the local level for that development to move forward, then the permitting comes in, and you're right, you don't have any say as to what'll happen there, but you do have a say, you say, wait a minute, we understand from the tools that have developed here on
Yeah.
ecological function and cost of services and things like that, to not go forward with this development.
And you're
So
kind of
the
comparing apples to apples that way. You're saying this development brings in this much money, but this wetland,
Yep,
You
serves
know,
this much function,
saves
that
us
I can
this much
value.
money.
So,
Right.
so I think under technical assistance and data, we're looking at tools to empower municipalities or planning commissions to make those decisions if they want to, or to have ordinances or something. And then we can also put it under education awareness,
All right, yep.
how to use the tool, what does it mean? So,
Decision support tool.
You know what you can do is
Somebody
you
might
can
know
change, you can change the wording on
Yeah.
the data one to say, not just close, make available, but expand and standardize.
Because the
Support.
standards exist here.
Something like that is part,
yeah.
and then that, and especially standardizing, the expansion because we're trying to get into.
So I think like maybe you should develop like a map, like a wetland function,
Yeah.
data map,
Decision support tool.
and that will help them, and then you will have in the map, you know, like different categories.
That's what the coastal is gonna do.
Lake County.
Oh, so you're doing that.
Lake,
Yeah.
Lake County, Illinois
And Lake
has,
County, Illinois has that, and we have this one.
And then I will be like a best practices to give it to local governments to help them, you know, when they make decisions about the
Yeah.
wetland.
Yeah,
That's
so
pretty much
it's a
what we're-
decision support tool and basically use the data collected from the functional assessment, incorporate it into a interactive tool that'll show you wetlands over time. It'll help developers determine whether it is a good area, you know, say someone wanna build a house and then they complain like, why is my house flooding? Hey, there used to be a wetland here. So it'll, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
So support, expand, and standardize, are those the three words?
Mhm. Okay,
okay.
that's the data for wetlands, okay.
All right, let's,
Now we're to my,
the intent on the next one, same type thing, decision, support
tool, yeah,
for the stream crossing, interactive map type thing.
yeah. So this is a cut and paste error, I'm trying to get at,
It's a stream crossing inventory, basically.
yeah, and it's inventory of the transportation infrastructure that could be fundable to be upgraded.
Yep,
It's not just the inventory, it's also like, what is it?
yep.
Yeah.
Okay, are we done with data?
All right,
Education awareness, box one.
who wants to just say repeat above?
About
Third,
what the sentence
it's jargon.
Right, so. Is there anything that we talked about that doesn't have an education and outreach component? No. All right. Is everybody satisfied with that approach to education awareness, constant connected, is just take the technical assistance stuff and
Make it more educational.
make it more public awareness oriented? Okay,
Finance?
funding and finance, do we need money for? I'll be right back, you guys keep going.
Everybody needs
Oh, and here we
money.
have the public-private partnerships listed, so that's good. We didn't have that earlier. Is there any comment there on that fuel infrastructure in the States?
Yeah, that one needs to be moved over, that's not the connectivity piece, so that goes over renewed.
Kind of like the
Is that worded
United,
okay?
where we put it
We were
last
putting
time.
them in United.
Was it United or was it renewed? United.
And is there a reason why the fuel infrastructure on interstates, why does it make sense that it should be
Well, that's
interstates?
where, that is how the corridors have been defined by the feds.
Okay, so completely move that from this category over to United.
Yeah.
Next, prioritize funding for clean energy transit fleet.
We moved that to vibrant last time.
Correct. It's repeated, so we're gonna just.
So just strike it.
Yeah,
To vibrant.
Well, but the
It's
funding
funding,
for it,
it's funding,
it's,
yeah.
this is funding, it's a different, so.
So we're gonna move it to vibrant under funding.
And keep it apples to apples, yeah.
Yep.
Funding for natural area land acquisitions. I'm not sure, what is the Benjamin Harris Trust?
For land acquisition.
And we wanna keep that specific,
I don't know if that's
Natural funds
specific.
for-
It's not the only state.
Yeah, I think that could, the Benjamin Harris Trust portion
That's
would
an
be dropped.
example?
Yeah, there's.
That's an example, yes,
An
correct.
example.
On funding and finance, I wonder if we want to add something about, on policy. And I'm always about, promoting the economic benefit of environmental, initiatives. Is there something that we would want to mention in this section on how to help municipalities or other entities, tie an economic benefit to their environmental initiatives?
That's under,
Well, we did that one-off, ecosystem, you guys already talked about those, ecosystem services evaluation study. We had money to do that, and we have a map, but we haven't really done it as much outreach with that as we could.
Right. 30 by 30 meter grid, that was huge.
Yeah, so
Sex
that's-
lots.
Not excellent.
It's a challenging one, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
So,
I think that's a good recommendation, but like it fits more under the goal of vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think in terms of funding and
to
finance.
have fostering a sustainable economy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so it fits more under, that's a good recommendation, but keep it under vibrant.
But this is all about obtaining funding, it's not showing how your, expenditures are benefiting the, economic base.
so, because this is about the tools we have to throw at a problem, and funding and finance is a tool to throw at, I guess,
Kind of flipping
Yeah.
it around.
yeah.
Are we talking about mostly state funds, because we're matching federal funds for this, right?
Well, if it's road stuff, but this is, again, not all NERC,
Yeah.
regional, what else?
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a state funding source, it could just be like specifically allocated.
So the way I was thinking about this, and that doesn't mean it's right, but, so if we were to take that policy that I started with about riparian buffers all be publicly owned, then we would need to throw money at that because it's really expensive to own and maintain all that property, right? So if that's a policy that we're gonna keep in the policy frame, the policy would need a funding mechanism to maintain all that land, right? If the policy is that we want to have conservation development, then does that cost money? Does
And
that
I
cost money
think
to
the coastal
develop?
program funds
Yeah, are we
land
just-
acquisition, right?
Yes, are we just listing funding sources here? I think a difficult thing to find funding for is always maintenance. I think that's always an issue. Like, are we saying we should be finding more funding sources to help people fund maintenance?
Well, I don't know if
Would
it's
that
a matter
fall
of
over this?
finding
Or are we
more
saying-
funding sources or
Making it available?
appealing to legislators.
Yeah.
To create.
Like, what level are we working
Yes.
at?
Throw more money into
Yes.
those pots.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know the level that we're.
Well, so we could, we have a legislative committee at NERC that lobbies for things.
Right.
Do we want to lobby for that as a region? We have
Yes.
to.
Yes,
I think that's.
asking around.
Right, and so,
We have that in the next one. We have that in the land acquisition under legislative initiative. We have it as a policy.
I'm talking about maintenance.
Are you talking about maintenance? Okay.
Deb has a comment?
I'm kind of confused why this is a category here, because it seems to me everything we're doing, everything we've done thus far is, we're thinking about strategies that will need to be funded.
that
So
for
this category should include outreach and education, how we gonna fund that? So it's just odd to me that this is actually a category, because I thought everything in the strategy is something we would need to get funding for, whether it's federal highway or matching funds or
Well,
what, right? Why is this a
I
separate category?
almost think about it as a different tool.
Okay.
Like money is a different tool than
Yes.
education. I mean,
But it
sometimes
costs-
everybody can be all educated, everybody wants to do it, and they still don't have any money. Right, so
But
it's
but
where,
it costs you to do the outreach and education, so don't you need to put in your finance and funding for education and outreach and everything we've listed thus far?
no, because the MS sports have to do it for free, no, just kidding.
But
So,
I think what
so,
Deb is saying makes
For stormwater.
Makes sense. I mean,
right.
Are you looking more at external sources of funding to expand or create new projects here? Is that what this means? Or are you looking at funding mechanisms
For everything we've
for
talked about
everything
thus
we've
far.
talked about? Because everything's gonna cost us money, whether or not it's manpower or resources or anything, right? So,
Yes, I think we need to know what this category is before we can kind of populate it.
so I think it's all related, right, so if,
I think it's whether we create new pots,
Right.
we lobby to continue funding certain pots,
Mhm.
and,
I like, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, at the most basic level, yes.
yeah, it's all that.
Yeah.
right.
it's all of
But
it.
it's gotta be for all the things though, so it's
Right.
finding funding for everything
Yeah.
we've talked about thus far in the connected category. It's not just finding funding for land acquisition.
So, right, so what is
It's
the-
all got in there right now.
Right, so what is the funding strategy for the urban forestry piece we talked
Yeah.
about? What is the funding strategy, and is it a funding, a policy to look for funding, or is it a program that needs funding? Or is it a ongoing effort we wanna keep funding forever?
So we have certain areas
Yeah.
that are lacking funding, and I think
Yeah.
that's the one that we should
Call out.
Yeah.
call out, like to get, if we wanted a legislative initiative, if we would like, like to have to show the economic benefits, as you mentioned, how we do that? Is that only funding, or also when we put the criteria for any project, if we should have a criteria to show the economic benefit, of protecting the environment, for
And
example.
can you make it clear then, as you do that and you prioritize that funding, what you as the planning agency would have available for that? If we come out with an environmental project and it's great and it has priority, but you sit back and say, we can't fund this, we have to find some other mechanism. So at least people know what it is that's gonna be available from you.
Have you read our notebook?
Well,
It's very specific of what is available from us. And
no,
nothing
I
else
just
is.
thought you had some latitude.
That's it, the notebook's it. Well, and that's why I've been trying to say too, we aren't getting the roles yet. Like coastal is one of the funding mechanisms we have. So maybe some of the coastal stuff would go under funding and finance sustained effort. Keep coastal funded, keep or, I have in here because this one came from Chris Krause and Benjamin Harrison. We did a lot of land acquisition with coastal when we had the bicentennial trust to match it.
I think that the ability of state funding is the need more than the coastal funding.
Yeah.
In my opinion, because if we're finding these federal opportunities and we don't have the state match, that is an ongoing issue. Like, I feel like I'm pretty crafty at helping people find match, but at the end of the day, they're still gonna need some state funding.
Yes, you are.
I would like you to go train INDOT on any kind of match and, but anyways. Unless
There
there
are
is a
opportunities, but I think that state funding is harder to find.
I have a question or suggestion. So if our charge right now is we're looking at policies for funding under Connected, correct? This is our focus right now.
Yes.
So perhaps we should make a priority having a policy for our legislative committee to continue to seek new sources of funding to support the 2050 plan as we move forward. Something as simple as that, so that it is super broad-based, that they are constantly looking at it, is prioritized, it's on paper, it is part of the policy. Does that make sense here?
Actually, yeah.
Move on.
gold star.
Let's go.
With everybody on time.
Right, and it's super flexible.
But if it's okay to go until 12 o'clock,
Oh, no.
or 11:30? Are we okay with 11:30?
I'm okay with 11:30.
You guys can, well, let's.
I have an appointment with Brenda.
We will stop at 11:30, so let's keep pushing, and we will not go beyond that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I told you guys I wanted to make this a fun game instead of slogging through the spreadsheet, and I couldn't.
Good luck with that. Okay, program plan.
Okay, so the policy, funding, and finance, is that gonna go across everything, all right?
Yeah, we got that done.
Vibrant, that goes to vibrant. And it's already there, so we can just cut it.
Okay.
Right.
And we can also cut it, it's under renewed too, so we can cut it and leave it under vibrant.
All right, let's, legislative. And I think we had talked earlier, Kathy, that we don't want to name any individual funds.
Yeah, so Benjamin Harrison Trust is too specific, this goes under, yeah, state match.
You want to call it specific as funding finance to unsustained effort, as Sarah said, maintenance is a really big problem. Sustaining open lands and green infrastructure and stuff, you might want to call out and finding funding sources or developing funding sources, develop programs, enable maintenance.
Sorry, I've got a question on the program plan, funding piece.
Could you speak up a little?
Do you really want the program, plan section to be blank in funding finance, or do you want to call out, finding money to support the program plan and the technical assistance section?
Oh, that's a good idea, funding for the programs identified above.
Right, so looking back to
One big statement in
what
every
was
one of
it?
these,
Right.
Yeah. Identify long-term funding source for the habitat or the conservation plan, all that stuff.
Okay, are we going to be okay now that we're looking at legislative initiative to possibly repeat that? I mean, we have a policy for the budget committee, right? So we would like to have a policy for the legislative committee
Yeah.
to continue to seek new funding. Well, that's also part of legislative initiative, right?
Right.
So I think it'd be perfectly fine to be in both,
Right.
because they support one another.
I think something about the appropriations on the things that we do have, something about sustaining
Yeah.
those appropriations that are currently in place
Yes.
or increasing.
Yes.
Or just some sort of support. And, I mean, I know we have like performance measures and things that we submit saying that these funds are being used always. But something, if it's a matter of somebody collecting that data that this is happening and just having it available to support what's already being appropriated would be really helpful. In addition to continuing to buy more, keeping what we have.
So do you want that under sustaining
I think,
data?
I think it might go under a legislative policy or legislative sustaining.
Effort, I think.
So it's funding appropriate to different levels
Yeah.
of when we can't understand why they're not.
And having the results, but you
Yes.
need to convince legislators that it's a wood appropriate. Track the results.
You guys feel like including a thread of labor in there that, and maybe it's just because we're in the region, like the theory that all the money's going somewhere else and not here, we get it. I mean,
Our fair share, yeah.
conservation dollars or, watershed dollars or.
So it goes under policy or sustain effort?
Sustained.
Sustain effort, yeah.
Anything else for legislative? Okay, let's move down to partnership.
Okay, here we go. I think again, trying to identify specific partnerships is difficult. I think looking at, say, to prevent overlap or duplication, in the stormwater field, you have Northwest Indiana Stormwater Advisory Group, which is NICEWay. We have the Indiana MS4 Partnership, which is now incorporated, not-for-profit. You have a NASA, Partners for Clean Air. You have the Partners for Clean Air program, and then you have something that's a little bit different, so that we don't have replication, or at least we're able to identify if the groups are doing different things. What I don't want to see is us favoring one over another.
So I'm more thinking in here when I was trying to get some help from, I hear what you're saying, not duplicating partnerships and identifying roles, and that goes to the next step of this when we do identify leads, and who's the lead and who's the catalyst, but I was thinking more like, what do we need policies to allow partnerships, or do we need policies or, for connected, like we're partnering with some of the conservation groups right now because, Donnelly and stuff is funding us, and then we've had to argue with them for 3 years to allow us to talk to DNR, right? It's sort of like the policy of our partnership, not to talk to the agency. But I mean,
Do you have to have a policy, or do you just have
Could be other,
memorandum
could
of
be other.
understanding? Do you have something that you're gonna work with other groups? Policy is very,
Sometimes we do have to have an MOU, so that roles are clearly delegated, and responsibility is where, I think sometimes we do have to have that.
Would that be in a program plan though, rather than a policy?
Because we do have, for example, South Shore Cities, you're a sub-recipient of NERC. So there is a policy, there is a contract, there's reporting, so it's in existence. So that is sustained, but I think it should be identified elsewhere as well, for anybody who works with NERC in that capacity.
or, we had a long time ago when the first Marquette plan came out, we had a three-way agreement with the NR Coastal Program and NERC and the RDA of who was doing what with regards to the Marquette plan, and that expired a long time ago, and
But doesn't policy
legislative
cover, policy generally, at least like the ordinance side, it doesn't cover a specific program. It covers everything.
yeah.
maybe it's just a matter of, you have a different relationship with this, because you're a federal highway network, but looking at, just creating memorandums of understanding that these groups are gonna work together, interlocal agreements, something like that. It's not policy directed.
So maybe that goes under United though, so part of what we don't have to fill every single box. Maybe partnerships and connectivity don't need a policy. There's not a policy strategy that helps that. So we leave it blank. There's not a policy to have a partnership, we just do it.
Right.
Partnerships are kind of ad hoc. We work good,
That's why I put it under other.
Right.
Like
That encourages
it's very
transparency
generic.
too, when you
Okay.
have these
so MOUs, okay.
Yeah.
programs,
So are you suggesting, Kathy, that instead of partnerships with policy, programs, state, data, and other, that just becomes partnerships in general, and we just put a list of partners that deal with the things we put under all the other initiatives previously?
I see we're going to do roles.
Types of partnership agreements, whether it's memorandum of understanding, interlocal.
Yeah, but I don't think you need to get that specific. I don't think you need to define policy. Just talk about
No, not
partnerships,
under
and then
policy.
everything flows
No,
from
not
that. So get rid of all the subcategories, just have a broad partnership. And list some partners or types of partners or something like that that help us implement everything we've talked about this far.
Yeah, because actually in the final report, we are not gonna list it as stakeholders. We're gonna combine them and come up with the recommendations, strategies overall. But this is just help us to meet all the goals and vision, so we try to meet every single one. But by the end, I think we're gonna have like a general format.
Like, I don't think data is really a big player in partnership.
Yeah.
And if you look at that, and look at the sustained effort listing here, this collect data on usage of alternative fueling stations.
You guys have that.
Well, it's, again, as Reg said, it's DOE. DOE has
It's
that.
an example of a partnership that we want to keep doing that. DOE keeps doing that, you keep getting it and sharing it with us.
But again, that should scooch over a couple, as
Yeah.
should
Oh, yeah.
establish a baseline to collect that information, that's already established by Department of Energy. They have a policy for doing that, and we are the ones who do it for them. But it's DOE. I mean, we give it to them, and they.
So they're the lead, but it's a partnership that's important to sustain, not under this connected category.
Duplicative though, there are policy, I mean, the feds are already doing this, it's just a matter of us continuing to share it with you. So we don't need to establish a baseline to collect anything, that's done. We don't need to collect data on all fuel stations, the feds are already doing that, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
So here's a good question is, I'm outside the box, I know what I'm saying, but if it's something that's already happening at a different level of government, do we even put it in the plan, or do we put in the plan things that are happening? Because it could go away. But.
Can't you just call it ongoing activity?
Yeah.
And try to standardize what they're doing and how it's going to implement this overall plan? You've got all these little pieces.
Yeah, the pieces.
No, but it's really just continued monitoring even, because we're not really, NERC, isn't really doing the work, they're part of it. But it's continued monitoring of, and involvement in placement stations, programs.
And maybe reporting back so that everybody knows about it better, maybe that's the piece that
So just kind of a general capture off of this one, like maintain and grow partnerships that support the above.
Excellent, perfect.
Good job, Joe. Check.
Build on all that stuff.
You got it.
Quiet, so when it comes out, it comes out.
Ooh, we finished connected.
But they have to read the above.
What?
They have to read the above, yeah.
Oh.
To know what's this.
Yeah. I mean,
All right, let's see how far we can get through.
Yeah, can we move to renewed?
We're done connected.
We're down to 25% of our cash.
Yeah.
We're gonna have the math.
Can I make a recommendation?
Yeah,
Chair, Kathy, if we're gonna be done at 11:30, can we get through announcements and call it a day before we start taking a review?
Yeah, that's a good idea, and plan our steps forward, because how much of this, now that we've gone through one, would you empower us to reformat a lot of the other ones? And
Can we still email, like?
yes,
Yes.
I would.
Why don't we do that instead of
Another meeting, yeah.
Everybody can go
Second,
through essentially, and if you have some major items that you think need to be included or omitted in a specific square, like.
That would be great.
Is that
Can we
okay?
do Google Drive that
Email
people can
Kathy
see
with
our
CCs to
interactive
Joe
or
Email.
share?
Well, actually, we wanted to put it up on Google Drive and share it with everybody.
Is everybody okay with
No,
that?
is that a no?
Google Drive, or you just wanna do?
No, we're not.
We're not doing Google Drive.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's
I
just,
forgot.
everybody has this, we know how we're referencing the boxes and
Emails.
everything, so I think we're all on the same page.
And that, yeah, people put in, and which
What's
is
the
always.
deadline on that, Kathy?
What's the deadline on this? When are we, are we taking this all to TPC? Next week?
When is
When are
that?
we taking it to TPC?
So is by Monday afternoon, okay?
I have to double check.
What?
I have to double check on that.
TBC already
Wait a
met.
minute.
Did they meet this past Tuesday?
I think in
So they're not
February.
meeting until
We
February.
have to take all the final,
But what's the timeline?
Let's say by Monday afternoon, because you're
Yeah,
gonna do it
yeah,
right away.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
you're not there.
next week, right
I
away,
would also
anything.
say, if you could push it back to Tuesday afternoon, that would be really helpful.
Okay.
Tuesday afternoon then, the 15th.
So you're gonna distribute this electronically to
Yes.
us, so we can electronically
Yes.
put our comments on it?
Okay.
Send it
And,
back.
yeah, and you can send it in Excel, so it will be easy for you to work on that, yeah.
But please, if you're gonna play with the Excel spreadsheet, label it with your name
Initial.
or organization, so we can,
Yeah, make
An
it red,
identifier.
something like that.
so we can tell who it came from, so we don't.
Okay, announcements.
Announcements, I have, Sasha Queen City's annual meeting and awards is on Tuesday, February 26th at the Blue Chip Stardust Event Center in Michigan City. Early bird registration ends soon, and Lori is your point person on that. So you don't have a date, no, okay. Any other announcements?
I have a couple. So the IDEM diesel-wise grants opened for solicitation earlier this week. There's not a whole lot of money available this time around. It's only about 500,000-ish total. They are due February 22nd. We are in the process of planning a webinar that will share all of the details of the grant program with Sean Seals from IDEM. So as soon as we have that, we will get it to everybody and get that distributed. Also, the Volkswagen committee at the state level, the one on which Kay sits, is meeting January 17th at 12:30 Central in Indy. It will be live streamed. You can watch it sitting in the comfort of your office chair or your home. The round one solicitation is, according to IDEM, expected to be out February 19th. What they're going to be doing at this meeting on the 17th is going over and approving the solicitation packet. So there will be a lot of information in that meeting that will pertain to what you will need to do to apply. So that's February 19th is February 2019 is when the solicitation is supposed to be out. The committee is supposed to review projects in April and release the awards in May. So it's going to be a really tight turnaround. And this is just round one. If you remember, they're going to be doing several rounds and it'll be cyclical. And I think that's it, unless, did you want to talk about what's happening next month, or would you like me to do so?
No, well, I want to talk about a couple things. One, I want to make all of our partners aware, and I am here, but due to a variety of paperwork and bureaucratic snafus, as well as additional pre-approval requirements being added every day, our CMAP public education program is on hiatus, hold until maybe April, being optimistic. So, so some of the activities we used to do, we're not gonna have gas cans, the Clean Cities is working for free, whatever they're doing is not funded by NERC right now. We won't be, so we just got the social media kind of back up and ramped, and now we have to stop doing it. And I just wanted to apologize to anyone who's depending on that program for anything. And, but we do have an ongoing, a great partnership that actually Rachel, my excellent educator, got started, and then Lori has taken over with. We have a team of seniors, it's a senior project for a team in that, you describe it.
Sure. So Rachel had started work with a group of 4 senior environmental engineering students at Purdue West Lafayette before she left. There was discussion about them taking on a project for us involving citizen scientists and park benches that had air quality monitoring and all these different things. And it was kind of broad-based, kind of duplicative. And so Kathy and I met and said, okay, what are we hearing from Dundee in all of her meetings and all of her reporting that we are hearing from our residents are concerns, issues, misconceptions. And the number one thing that we kept hearing was that people don't think that their individual actions make a difference. They still love to point at the smokestacks, which are really steam stacks most of the time, and say, you know, why does my car make a difference? Why do I have to have my car tested? You know, what does my action matter? So we talked about it and said, hey, you know what, if we're talking about a public education campaign and we need these kids to work on something, perhaps we need to be addressing this issue and getting back to the it all adds up to cleaner air message. So, you're welcome. So what we're doing, and I'm having a ball doing this, and I am happy to continue this work. You know, I want to stress that, you know, it's still a partnership. We will still be working with NERC. There has not been something that has caused a problem for us to work with them other than the funding mechanism at the highest levels. So, I've been working with these kids since about September. We have monthly calls and email back and forth. They're doing this for a class. So what they have done, and you're going to hear a lovely report from them, in-depth report from them next month at EMPC. So they are recording a PowerPoint presentation, and they will also be on the phone. They cannot make it up here because they have other classes, but they're going to be on the phone for us. I was planning for Kathy and I to kind of introduce them and then do some questions before and after. But what they are planning to do is they've grabbed all this data about one person. They've kind of created this region man. And they're going to collect data as if one person is going through their day making all of the right choices and then making all of the crummy choices. And what does that mean? And the hope is that this can be the basis to revive and renew the public education campaign going forward about why your individual choices matter. These kids are excellent, they are engaged, they are bright, they are fun, and they are learning a lot, and they will share with you what their own personal takeaways have been from this as well. So I'm excited to have them present to you. We are going to be working with them feverishly between now and then. Kathy and I just had about an hour-long conference call with them yesterday, and they are like this close to having it ready to share with you. So I think it's an exciting project, and I think it's going to help NERC in the region meet a lot of the goals that we have, and help meet some of the concerns that we're hearing or the misconceptions that we're hearing.
If I look at what air quality was the #1, right, and then followed by environment, the #1 concern people had.
So we're excited. It's gonna be fun, and I hope you guys will. I know that you will support them and encourage them and help them out. Yes.
I had talked to Rachel briefly before she left about these benches. I think she was considering maybe getting a coastal grant, but decided to go in a different direction. Anyway, so the benches are already being used by EPA. Is that right?
Yeah, and some other areas.
Yeah. Is there data available somewhere from this? And we decided not to. Y'all decided not to do the bench air quality thing, and instead you're gonna. The purpose of this is to encourage public participation in data collection.
No, there's no public data collection. We felt like that was
project now.
In the project now, right? You're trying to like the end goal is to.
This is going to
make people see the value.
So they've crunched all sorts of data related to individual actions as they pertain, particularly transportation actions, as they pertain to greenhouse gas emissions.
Got it.
And the goal is to take the results of their data, because I don't want to give it all away. Sorry. But the goal is to take the results of their data and of their project and use that as the basis for a public education campaign, which has been dormant for several years on the part of NERC.
Got it.
So to get that kind of public, they have been supporting Partners for Clean Air financially in what they do, but there is a separate arm, and NERC has its own NWI Clean Air.
It hasn't been dormant, it's been on autopilot.
Yes.
It's just been out there.
Right.
Cool.
So, I mean, then there's lots of opportunities for how to take the information that they have and move it forward for greater public education. And we are also working with NERC on attempting to more and secure some funding that will also support how to get that message out there to a broader audience. So stay tuned.
Anything else for the good of the group? No, I'm moving back here. Are you done with the announcement? Everybody? Okay.
We had our youth environmental summit on January 3rd while youth were out of school. And we had a great turnout for that, just because they were out of school, they don't have to get up early. We had representation from Indianapolis, youth from Indianapolis, Narrowville, Portage, Chesterton, and Gary. So we had about 60 youth there, fully engaged. All of these presentations that were done by our partners were hands-on. They had to learn something from this presentation. I wanted you to know that one of the young men that goes to 21st Century really enjoyed Lori's session on clean energy and transportation. So
What ages was it?
Joel had,
What ages attended?
so from middle school, but I brought my granddaughter, she was in elementary. So up to, I think that was a senior, was that a senior from the university?
Yeah, there were middle school and high schoolers who were listening, but then there were some college age and high school students from the Indianapolis area and from other Indiana universities who were speaking as well.
Good presentation.
Awesome.
That was a really good session. We were writing up our Miracle Vistas really organized it, so it was youth organizing event, and then we presented it forward to a fact sheet or press release about the event coming soon.
And Joe was there too?
Yeah, Joe was there, thank you for doing, had all of his equipment. So thank you so much, Nerdy, for participating. Did you guys participate?
Was Sylvia wet?
Fine. But we had about 14 organizations who came and presented. The Field Museum, Indigenous Services, partners, and whatever.
When did you do that?
January 3rd.
Okay, anything else?
No, just, I think like Kathy and Joe, before we send that, because I know that whoever attended today, are familiar with the Connected and what we are going to do. But since you are going to send the Excel sheet to all the committee members, we need to modify all the Connected first.
Yeah.
So people, like that they did not attend, they will have a better idea about what we did with the Connected.
Makes sense.
Is
So
there
I
any
think
way
we
you
gotta
can
do
tell
that
who
today.
connected, to the live feed? There's no way
On
you.
Facebook? I don't know, do you know, Dominique, I'm sorry, does the Facebook live feed, does that get that gets recorded, so can you see who listened or watched it?
We have a YouTube channel, and so everything is turned into our YouTube channel. But you can access it through our Facebook as well through the multiple posts that I put up.
Or can you tell who watched it?
You can't tell who watched it.
Okay.
I was just
So
gonna say,
it's
maybe
like
they
member
would want
groups.
to stay involved or whatever,
Yeah.
if they were involved.
Anything else? Okay, adjourned.